I'll give it a second for all of everyone to join. And then we can go ahead and get started. How is everyone doing? Yeah, welcome back, Luke. Missed you, man. Hopefully you had a chance to take a look at the last lesson and the last review where we did that fun tkinter stuff, because that was good. We have my backup chat open as well, just in case Teach gets a little cranky. Okay. Watch lesson, but didn't get a chance to see the review. I'll catch up on the review. Okay, cool. This lesson, we're actually not going to do any tkinter. It depends on the amount of people that show up, because when I post a lesson, I get to see how many people sign up for to get a reminder. And I saw a bunch of different names this time, a bunch of new people. So I figured, if it's a bunch of new people, then we might have to start from, do some more lesson 1 beginner level content. But if it's just the normal crowd, then I do have something different in store for us today. We're going to be doing something called Code Wars, and you see I have this tab open right here. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But again, I'll just give it 1 or 2 more minutes for everyone to populate. You feeling a little sick today? Yes, I am. I'm very much congested. My throat's a little sore, so you can probably hear it in my voice, but I'm trying to keep my voice down so it doesn't really make it worse up here. I didn't know it was gonna be that noticeable. Yeah, back to school sickness is real, man. Everyone is, coughing, hacking. It's whatever. It's always the beginning of school, and then around December, January, February. That's always when people get sick. Because again, it's cold. You have exams, so no one's sleeping, so all their immune systems are, shot. But I digress. So let's actually go ahead and get started. I think we have everyone we were going to have. I thought we were going to get a little bit more people, but okay. So again, as I said, last lesson, last review, we did tkinter, right? So that's all of our graphical user interface stuff. So let me actually open up a REPL. This was not the right one. We worked in this one. So we built some really simple applications. I think if I remember correctly, yeah, this is the unit conversion application that we made. So basically, you just type in the number of feet, whatever, you select the amount of, what unit you want to convert into, inches, meters, miles, and then it just tells you. Pretty nifty, pretty cool. It was pretty fun. Again, this whole course is beginner level. So for right now, this might be sort of the extent that we just go into tkinter right now. It would probably fall upon you guys to do more research and whatnot. But what I wanted to do today was actually something a little bit different. I want us to focus a little less on just knowing how, what code to write to do certain things. But another element of coding that we haven't really touched upon is knowing how to think like a programmer, addressing problems and problem solving. We haven't really done those sort of things because, again, the problems which we do address are very simple, right? Like, for example, rock, paper, scissors. That was pretty easy, straightforward for us to do. But again, we should challenge ourselves with sort of like these problems. And I'm on this site here called Code Wars that I used to use when I was learning to code. And I've made a new account. And I'm actually going to ask you guys to go ahead and head over to codewars.com right now make an account, um, because we're going to be using this site for this lesson, maybe tomorrow's review, um, to get some practice with problem solving with Python. And again, the cool thing about this is we'll also be exposed to more functions, um, and more concepts that I traditionally wouldn't be able to sort of bring up just in like a normal lecture because it just wouldn't make sense. So yeah, I'll post a link to this in chat, codewars.com. Again, it's a pretty simple sign up. I think what happens is when you sign up, they actually ask you to, they give you like a sample problem and they ask you to solve it. And I think it looks something like this. I'll just make a random file. Let's call this test.py. I think it's called like the function's name is multiply, and it takes 2 arguments, and it's given to you like this. And the whole idea is this function is not returning slash working. And fix it. So you get this, and then obviously what you would do is you just add this little return statement right here. And then there's like a little submit button in the bottom. Go ahead, press that. Boom. It's like an entryway into making sure you know how to code actually. So I'll give you guys a second to go ahead and do that. And then once you do sign up and do that like first activity, you should be presented with a page like this, where I can follow along with you guys. You guys can follow along with me. So again, I'll give you guys a second to do that. I'm there, no activity prompt. Let's see what happens. Let me try it from my end. Let's see, you go sign up, you select the language, and something like this. I'll post this new link. It looks like this is like the proper sign up link for Python. And yeah, it is the same function that I had in mind. So yeah, the simple initiation challenge meant to test your basic syntactical understanding of the chosen language. Free to submit your code as many times in order to crack the solution. So again, we should know from what we've learned, if I do run this, all of my test cases fail. So I try again, put a return statement down here. Boom. And then it loads up this, and then you can do a sign up. So let me go back now. Okay, now I'm back in my on my it's interesting. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Is this seriously not the password? Oh, okay. I feel so dumb right now. How did I? Okay, there we go. So we have to use the email. One second. Okay. So you should get presented with this screen, right? Like we're all here-ish. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start selecting them then. It doesn't really matter what I put here. I'm just gonna put backend and data science. That's my personal um, thing. What describes your current programming skill level? I would say we're advanced beginners. And then okay, so we've already got Python selected. Oops, there we go. Is it selected? Oh yeah, it is selected. Okay, cool. I'm not interested in joining a boot camp. No. Cool. So you do that, and then your training, whatever, gets saved, and you can go ahead and actually start solving some of these problems. So again, are we all here? Is this like the point that we're all at? Well, have you been able to like make a login and everything? Okay, all signed in. Okay, so you should like this should be the screen we're on then. Okay, cool. So if you come to this little sidebar right here, yeah, right, it'll open up and you see this practice section. And again, you get like this whole search bar. So basically, I'll go through each of these like little filtered things, and I'll explain what they're used for. Sort by not really important languages. Well, we're working with Python. Status and progress don't really matter. The difficulty thing is definitely um, the interesting thought. So basically, there are 8 different difficulties going from 8 to 1. 1 being the hardest, 8 being the easiest. Um, and basically, as you do more of these different difficulties of programs, you get a certain amount of points, and then your character levels up, if that makes sense. So we're going to start with a couple of 8, a level 8. Oops. So we'll look at that. So we've got Python difficulty 8. And so let's just start going through these, talking through them, seeing the information that we know, how we can apply it. And actually, let me put the most popular. Okay. So even or odd, we'll start with this one. And again, I'll post the link to each of these as well, so that someone following along doesn't have to sort through everything. They should be able to just find it. So description. Create a function that takes an integer as an argument and returns even for even numbers or odd for odd numbers. Okay. So let's train. So we get our own little programming environment. You see that the language is selected here. The language version 3.10. That's fine for us. So again, our instructions are here. And on the bottom, basically there's 2 things or 2 elements that go into making sure that your code is actually solving the issue. First, you test, right? And you can see all these test cases right here. So if I give it a 2, that should return even. If I give it a 1, it should give odd. If I give it a 0, it should return even. So on and so forth. And then to actually submit, say like this is my final answer, then you'd click attempt down here. So again, if I do all of this wrong, let's just say I return or just pass, nothing. If I press test, I fail all of my test cases, right? All of these fail. So now let's work through this. A function that takes an integer, so I'm getting a number, and then returns even for even numbers or odd for odd numbers. So what we can do is we can say that if our number, when we do the modulus of 2, remember, because if we do modulus of 2, we should get the remainder. So if you divide an even number by 2, your remainder is always 0. If you divide an even number by something like 3, your remainder is always 1. Oh, hi, Maria. Probably a little confused where we are right now. Quick overview of where we're at. We're not going to be doing any tkinter stuff this week. I wanted to focus a little bit more on problem solving stuff. Um, sort of like the code snippet you sent me earlier in the week. So we're on a site called Code Wars, and I'm pretty sure I left the link up above. I'll copy it and paste it one more time. But it's called Code Wars, and basically, just you get problems, you solve the problems, you go up levels. So when you click that link or you paste it into your browser, you'll have to create an account to follow along. But you'll find a prompt where it asks you to like look at a piece of code and fix it. I'll just tell you right now so you don't waste any of your time. You just add a return statement in front of the A times B. Then you'll make your account, and then you can check out this link right here that I'm posting. And this is the problem that we're working on right now. Anyway, I'm going to continue with this. Just let me know if I need to stop and help you out with any issues. So back to this even or odd thing. If my number, and I do the modulus by 2, if I divide by 2 and my remainder is equal to 0, right? Then I know this is going to be an even number. So let's try this now. And see, now I'm passing some of my test cases, right? So when I passed it 2, I passed my first test case because I returned even. Now, the only thing we have left to do is just add this return odd here. And now we pass all of our test cases. So you might be wondering, Varun, why is it that I'm able to put an if statement here, but I don't have to put an if statement for this second return statement? Well, the thing is, when I have a function, and I'm not sure if I've explained this before, but if I have a function with return statements, my function automatically stops whenever it returns something. So again, I'm giving it a number, right? Let's say I call down here even or odd, and I give it the number 4, right? The first thing it's going to do is it's going to check to see if that number divided by 2 has a remainder of 0, which it does. We're going to come into this if statement, and this if statement is automatically going to return it even, and then it's going to terminate the movement of the function. So it's going to stop right there. It's not going to go on and return another function afterwards. What I can do is I can leave this. So if it doesn't automatically return even, then it'll automatically return odd. So again, if that's a little confusing, you can always just put something like this. Save that, run it, it does the same thing. And if we go ahead and attempt, we pass all of our attempt cases. So again, very simple, very straightforward. So Luke, are you okay with this, with writing the code, the whole environment, how it all works? And Maria, are you able to sign up and everything? Because we're kind of at 2 different points right now. Okay, Luke's good. Maria, how are you? You doing good? I'm trying to sign up. Okay. I'm going to keep going on then. Just stop me if I need to go back and clarify something then. So again, we submitted this. We passed all of our submission cases. We go ahead and, oh, you can't actually see it. In this bottom right corner where my face is, where I am right here, right here, you should see like a green submit button. You click that, it'll submit. So it says submitting your final solution. It'll load. Yeah. So now we can actually go ahead and see some of the solutions that other people had. Okay. So Let's take a look at this. Because again, a lot of these solutions, and I just want to preface this before we start comparing them to our own, they prioritize having the shortest amount of code, not necessarily the most readable amount of code, um, if that makes sense. So again, a lot of these concepts will be things that we've never really seen before, and I'm sort of just going to ignore them for a sec. But this is an interesting solution right here. This guy has a list and is actually using the modulus operator as a sort of index. So again, pretty cool how some people are approaching this problem. Lambda functions, some things we haven't talked about. So this is what we had initially, or something close to this. But again, these are prioritizing being the shortest amount of code, not necessarily the most readable. So let's move on to our next kata. Actually, this is a little too high of a level right now. Let's go back to our practice page then. 8, most popular, we'll do, where is it? Python. So we've done our even and odd one. We've done the multiply one. It's already got the check next to it. Let's come down here. Sum of positive. Sum of positive. Let me go ahead and paste this link here. It's the second one we're working on. You get an array of numbers. Return the sum of all the positive ones. Okay? Example, so if I have a list that has 1, -4, 7, and 12, I just want to add the 1, the 7, and the 12. Okay. Excuse me, sorry. So let's go ahead and train this. So we know that we're going to get a list with a bunch of positive and negative numbers. So the first thing we want to do here is actually get rid of all of our negative numbers, right? Because those are things that we don't want to use. So we can say is for every number, right, in R, because that's the list we're being given, if, let's say, if that number is less than 0, that means it's negative, then we're going to tell our array to remove the number, okay? And just to test it out, we're going to print our array beforehand, and then we're going to print our array after we do that removal. Now ignore this failed test case. Just look at the log. This should be all of our print statements. So we're printing beforehand. So beforehand, these are all positive, so we can't really use this as an example. If you come down here, we see how 1, -2, but when we print again, that number is removed. Again, the -1, the -5 are removed, so we're only left with positives. Perfect. So we have an array with only our positive numbers in there. And now I'm actually going to introduce something new to you guys, and it's called the sum function. Now the sum function takes an iterable and sums up all the numbers. So let me come down here. I'll open up a REPL. So for example, if I build something like this, like a list that has numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if I print the sum of number, it'll literally just add all of these numbers up and give me their sum. So that's what we're using here. That's a new function that we're working with. So let's test it out. Oops. So I pass all the basic test cases. It returns 0 when the array is empty. Returns 0 when all elements are negative. Okay, so let me try this one more time. Let's see what's happening here. Let's print our array out after we do all the removals. As we're working with this test case right here, right? Returns 0 when all elements are negative. Returns 0 when all elements are negative. So for some reason, we're still keeping the -2 and then -6 in our array. Or sorry, the -2 and the -4. So what's going on here? Because this should work, right? It's working with the 1, it's working with the 3, it's working with the 5. What do you guys think? What is the issue that we're dealing with here? Now here, let's see the numbers that are actually getting removed. So yeah, it's straight up just saying that the number is not less than 0, which is interesting. Any thoughts on how we can rectify this solution? Here, let's actually bring this into our REPL. We can work in an environment we're more used to. So this is the tkin to REPL. I'm actually gonna make a new REPL. There's a Python. We'll just call this Code Wars. Okay. So let's copy what we've got here so far. Okay. And let's have a test case. Test case. And we'll call this -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. Sorry, because that is the case that is giving us some difficulties. And what we want is for this to return 0. So we're going to say r is equal to positive sum. We'll pass in our test case. Let's print out r. Maybe this is just an issue with Code Wars. Interesting. So we're keeping the -2 and the -4. So this is not just an issue with Code Wars. It is something that we are missing. So why don't I try? So we've gone through all of these numbers. We'll just print the number. Oh my goodness. Python does this. Inconsistent use of spaces and tabs. I think this has spaces in it, not tabs. All these spaces. Try now. Oh, there we go. So we've gone through all of the numbers, but for some reason it is skipping our it's just genuinely just not going over them. That's interesting. I'm actually a little confused right now. I don't know why negative numbers aren't. It's not like that. It's just genuinely just not going over that list. Because if I just have it like this, one second. Try this. So we have everything. Is it going by index? So for every number in our array, we're going to print a number. Okay, so we're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we know that's working. If our number is less than 0, print that number. We should see like -1, -1, -2, -2. Oh, you're right. I just realized it. Like once you take out a number, the number after it goes into place, but since a program while you remove that index, it skips to the next one. I like this idea. Here's what we're gonna do now. Because Luke is right. We're going all over all the numbers, but then we're also removing numbers at the same time, which may cause some issues. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna call this positive numbers. We're gonna make that an empty list. And what we're gonna say is that if we have a number in our array, and if that number is greater than 0, so if it's positive, then we're gonna add it to our positive number array. Okay? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna sum that positive number array. So instead of removing from the array we're given, let's actually go ahead and just move all the valid numbers into a different array. So let's try this. Oh, bingo. Luke for the win on this one. Good stuff. Good stuff. We passed all of our cases. Good stuff, team. That was awesome. So again, what was the issue we're having here? We had a list of an argument, right? ARR, R, and we're basically removing numbers from it as we're iterating over it, which may cause some errors. And I think that was what was messing us up. But now by moving it to a positive number array, it's all working. Awesome. So let's attempt this. Again, the button to attempt is right here. And then we'll also submit. Boom. Again, these people are using things that we haven't really covered. These are called generators and list comprehensions. These are lambda functions. So again, I'm not going to spend too much time on these solutions generated by other people because, again, they're always the shortest, but they're never the most readable, if that makes sense. Awesome. Let's do a couple of more. Let's do like 1 or 2 more level 8 ones, and then we'll switch over to 7, 6, and we'll work our way down until we sort of get stuck. Most popular, level 8. I won't change the language. We did the sum of positive. Return negative. Okay, let's try this one. In this simple assignment, you are given a number and have to make it negative, but maybe the number is already negative. So if I'm given a 1, I have to make it -1. If I'm given -5, I just leave it. If it is 0, it just stays 0. Cool. Let's train on this one. So again, I'm going to get a number. Oops, this is bugging me, having that space right there. Let me go ahead and paste this link into our chat. So make negative. Well, with this, if our number is already less than 0, if it's already negative, right, then we can just return our number. Otherwise, we can return our number times -1. What multiplying it by -1 will do is, that means it's positive. So again, the number itself, right? So if I have 2 and then multiply that by -1, it still becomes -2. So the actual like value stays the same. It just becomes a negative. So let's test this out. Cool, cool, cool. Passed our basic test case. And then we passed our final cases as well. Again, not going to spend too much time on the solutions that other people have had. Because again, so this guy's using the absolute value function to the ABS function. So let's look at that one actually. So if I have a number, we'll say it's like -5. If I print out the ABS of that number, I get 5. Again, another function, I didn't even think to use that function. But that's actually this is actually a good solution right here. So yeah, we've done 3. What is ABS? Oh, this is the function. I think there's 2 functions I talked about. Or sorry, there's another function I talked about that I don't think you were here for. So let's actually talk about them right here. So we have the ABS function, which stands for absolute value. And then we have our sum function, which it's pretty simple what it means. So again, with our ABS function, if I have a number, we'll just call this negative 92. Absolute value are, in mathematical terms, these bars right here. If you have like a negative whatever, is there a function that checks if a number is prime? I've been needing something then. Prime numbers are something that you usually have to implement by yourself. I've never heard of a inbuilt function that does that for you. Yeah, if I have an absolute value, sorry, if I have a number called negative 92 and I want to get the absolute value of that, I just put the ABS function around it and it gives me 92 because again, absolute value tells you how far that number is from 0. So again, if I have the absolute value of 4 and then the absolute value of negative 4, these are all the same thing. Because on a number line, the absolute value of 4 is 4 to the right of 0, right? Because you have 0, you have 1, you have 2, you have 3, you have 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 away from 0. And then negative 4 is 4 to the left, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're both worth the same amount. So that's your absolute value function. And then you have your sum function. If I have a list or a tuple or any iterable, it has a bunch of integers in it, like numbers, la la la. We'll just put some random numbers in here. If I wanted to add all of these up, right? And I could just use the sum function. Okay. Number. And this will give me the sum of all of this. So if I do 12 times 12, not 12 times 12, 12 plus 12 is 24. And then 24 plus 61 is 85. And then 85 plus 19 is 104. So that's how we're doing that. Are we all good with that? Awesome. And I apologize for stopping so frequently. Something in my throat. Okay, so let's head back to this practice tab. Again, we'll do popularity. We'll do, oops. Okay, and we'll do level 8. Let's do one more. Let's try something that sounds interesting. Ooh, reverse strings. We haven't done a lot with strings, so let's try this. Complete the solution so that it reverses the string passed into it. Okay, be honest with me, guys. Do you guys remember our little lesson about string splicing? Taking a string, cutting it up, flipping it backwards. It's very similar to the list stuff. Okay, so Luke says he remembers. Okay. I'll give both of you guys one guess on a one-liner. You can do this in one line. What goes inside these brackets? I think we did a game of like a palindrome or something. Oh, the question was what would I put inside these brackets to return the backward version of the string? This ties back to the string splicing and the list splicing lesson, which I think was lesson 6. So 9 lessons ago. It's about a month ago, or a month or 2. I've always like hated string splicing because I just never remembered that stuff. I got you. Yeah, I knew I got you guys. Yeah, Maria, do you want to take a guess at it? Here, I'll give you guys a hint. Okay. And you let me know if this will help you. When splicing, right? Again, we're using this string as just the name. You have your start, your stop, and your step. Very similar to our range function, which I know you guys know. Start. I'll leave it there. I'll give you another minute or two. And then if we can't get it, we'll head back to the REPL and do a little review on it. I had to sneeze there, but then I didn't. Ugh. Come on, one more minute, guys. I knew it. String splicing is always the most forgettable thing ever. Okay. Let's open up the REPL to review. String splicing. Pick a test string. We'll call this name. Put Varun Patel in there, right? Be straightforward. We remember indexes, right? On a list. I know we remember that actually. And then we know that strings behave a lot like our list, right? You can index certain characters. So a question for you guys. If I wanted to print the second A in my name, right? What would I... Oh, Luke's got it. Go on then, Luke. What goes in? Tell me. And I'll do this review lesson as well, Maria. So don't worry. So you don't, I'm not gonna skip over it. Come on, Luke. What? Okay, let's try it out. -1. Bing, bing. -1. And would you look at that? It works just fine. Let's attempt it. Bingo. I'll do you one better, though. You can actually make it shorter. You don't even need the -1. It works the same way. I'm going to go ahead and submit this one. And I think our solution will be very similar to what other people have implemented. But then I'll head back to the REPL just so we can get a review. Yeah. You didn't need that first -1. All right. So again, if I wanted to print out the second letter, sorry, the second A in my name, I'd put 1 in here, right? Boom. We know that. And I told you guys before, when you have a string, again, we're using name. You have your start, your stop, and your step. And actually put these colons between them. Okay? So if I wanted to print just Varun, right? None of this last Patel bit. I can put my start as 0, right? Because I want that V. And I'm going to go up to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm putting 5 because it goes up to but doesn't include. And I get Varun. If I put 4, you see I get just Varu. I have to put that 5. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. The step part is, do I want to go 0 and then add 1? So basically it's asking how much do you want to increment your indexes by? So again, if I put 0, 5, 1, that should give me Varun full, right? Because it's going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it doesn't go up to include that 5. But again, as we're going from our indices, we're just adding by 1. If I put 2, for example, though, we're running at 0, and then we're adding 2. So we're going to get the R. And then we're getting another 2, so we're going to get the N. And then it's going to stop there. So we're getting Vern. Again, if I had something like, and if I wanted to print my name backwards, remember our negative indices, right? I can just put -1 like that, and it'll go backwards. So again, really quick overview of our string splicing. I seriously think that was like lesson 6, 5, 7, one of the first couple. but good job to Luke there. It was good. It was good. All right. I'm actually kind of glad we're doing this because again, there's all these things that we've learned, and it's just so easy to just forget them. And it's not like it's anyone's fault. You just never use these tools all the time. Let's see. Let me see if I can find one more good one. Popularity. Oops. Okay. Remove first and last character. Convert a string repeat. I want to see something if we... Oh, remove string spaces. This can be interesting, actually. Simple. Remove the spaces from the string, then return the resultant string. Now, why I chose this one was because this will actually allow me to show you guys another, not function, but a method. And it'll make this very simple. So let's look at our test cases right here. We're just genuinely just finding all of the spaces and just removing them, well, which is pretty straightforward. So I'll show you a string method. So again, methods are sort of like functions that are only for a specific class. So for the string class, so again, X is the string we're given. If we're given all of this, right, it has all the spaces, there's a method called .replace. A .replace takes 2 arguments. It takes the thing you want to replace, and then the thing you want to replace that thing you want to replace with. If that makes sense. So for example, if I had a bunch of B's, I want to replace them with a bunch of 3's. That's how I do it. In this case, I have a bunch of spaces, right? Spaces. And I want to remove them and just put nothing there. If I try this out, bingo. So again, what is this doing? What is this reading out in English? Python? I want you to take my string X, right? It's called X. And what I want you to do is I want you to replace all of our spaces with nothing. Right? You see there's nothing between these double quotes. It's an empty string. Pretty straightforward, right? Nothing super confusing with that. We attempt it, works just fine. We can submit it, works just fine. And yeah, everyone else is using pretty much the same idea that we're using, which is all good. All right, so we're all good with that, right? That's a new method. Again, I want to do this for maybe another lesson, just because it'll sort of tie us back to our beginner level basic stuff. And because you don't want to forget those things, really. So let's move on to a level 7 kata. So let's do most popularity. Let's do Python, right? Okay, the first one I'm seeing is vowel count. Okay, so let's try this. Return the number of vowels in the given string. We will consider A, E, I, O, U as vowels for this kata, but not Y. Okay. It'll only consist of lowercase letters and or spaces. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and paste this here. This is the kata we're working on right now. Let's train. Okay, return the number count of vowels in the given string. What I want to do right now is have sort of like a counter. Okay. And every time let's like loop through. This is what I'm thinking out loud. And again, if you have a different idea, send it in the chat. Let's talk it through, right? What I'm thinking right now is we have a sentence with a bunch of little characters. what we should do is iterate over each of these characters and then check to see, using our in keyword, right, if that exists between like this AEIOU like tuple or something. So let me code that out. So for every character in the sentence, if that character is in A, B, I, oops, I, O, U, I'm going to add one to our counter. And then once that's all done, we're going to return our counter. So we're all good with that. I'm using a tuple here, by the way, instead of just like a list, because this is not being modified. There's no need for me to put a list in there. So what am I doing? I'm going through each of the characters in the sentence. If that character is a vowel, right, that's how I'm using the in keyword to check. Then I'm going to add one. I'm going to put like a tally, right? I'm going to add one to my counter, and then I'm going to return the times that I've had a vowel. So let's test this out. Okay, boom. Let's attempt. Boom. How do we feel with this? All good. Because I actually have a different way we can approach this. I just want to make sure we're all good with this one right now. And again, this solution that I have now is going to be using a new method. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions or anything. So I'm going to, before I show a different way that we could do it, I want to introduce you guys to another, what's it called, method. And actually, let me just write down all the things that we've worked with so far. We worked with our ABX function. We've worked with our sum function. We've worked with our .replace method, string method. Now we're going to add our .count method. So again, if I have a string and it's just my name, BARUNPATEL. Let's say I want to know the number of A's. Right? How many A's are in my name? I could say r.count A. If I print the number of A's, I get 2. So what Python is doing is Python's literally going through each of the characters in my string and saying, oh, this is an A, add this to my counter. So it's sort of doing the same thing that we've done here. So does this .count string method make sense? I'll add that to the list of things that we work with. Are we all good? Because we're just like quickly adding on a bunch of methods, which is good because these are finding things you're getting exposed to and you can use them in your own code. Okay, I'm seeing a cool. So let's try using this. Okay, let's try using our .count string method. Okay. What we can do is we can have, actually, I wonder if .count can take like multiple things. Okay, no, it can only take one argument at a time. Okay. I apologize. Okay. We basically need to count the amount of times for each of these vowels. So what we can do is for vowel let's take this tuple right here. For every vowel, let's add a number of vowels variable. Number of vowels is equal to 0. Number of vowels plus equals. So we're adding that number on. the sentence dot count that vowel. And then we can return the number of vowels. Let's clear this. Actually, let me comment that. So what are we doing here? I have a sort of counter variable that's going to keep track of the number of vowels I have. I'm going to go through each of the vowels in this tuple, right? So I have A, E, I, O, U. And basically, I'm going to ask my sentence to tell me how many times that vowel appears in it. That number is then going to be added to the number of vowels list. Sorry, variable. And I'm going to return that. So if I test this out, it works. If I attempt it, it works as well. I actually prefer this answer because we're using something new. But how are we? Are we all good? Any questions? Any issues so far? So far in the hour that we've been here, we've introduced 2 new functions and 2 new string methods, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I'm not seeing any questions. So let's attempt and let me submit. Cool. Let's take a brief look at some of the solutions people have used. So this is very similar to ours. Again, these people are using something called generators and list comprehensions, which we'll touch upon a little bit later. All right, awesome. So now let us go back to practice. 7KYU. Let's look at popularity. I always like doing the most popular ones because they're like the most fun. Okay. Oh, this one seems interesting. Square every digit. All right, let's copy this. I'm gonna post that in chat for you guys. Welcome. In this kata, you are asked to square every digit of a number and concatenate them. Okay. For example, if we run 9119 through the function, 81, 81 will come out because 9 squared is 81 and 1 squared is 1. Okay. So let me open up this rep one. I'll show you what these guys are doing. Again, they're giving us 91, 1. They want us to go through each of the numbers, right? So that's 9, and then 1, and then 1, and then 9. And they want us to convert these into their square. Just 81, 1, 1, 81, right? So in order to get a square, you just multiply numbers by itself. And when you do that, then they want us to combine this into one big number. Oops. So that's how they're getting that. Let's train on this. And this should be interesting because we're working with strings and integers. So the first thing we want to note is the function is accepting an integer. You can't really, iterate through an integer, if that makes sense. But you can iterate through a string. What we're going to do is we're going to say for digit in the string value of our number, right? That'll allow us to get the 9 and the 1 and the 1 and the 9 separately. We're going to, again, that digit is a string. We want to take the square, and that's going to be the int of the digit raised to the second power, right? So what we're doing here is, again, we're getting 919 as an integer, as our input, right? And basically, we have to go through each of these characters. Well, to iterate over each of these characters, you need to turn it into a string. That's the only way I can loop over each of the digits themselves. And then to actually perform math on it, to square it, I have to convert it back to an integer. Okay? So now I'm getting 81, I'm getting the 1, I'm getting the 1, I'm getting the 81. Okay, so I have all that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into a list. I'm going to call this digit squares, empty list. Every time we get the square, we're going to convert the whole thing into a string and then add it to our digit squares list. Okay. Again, I'm going to come down here. Let's print out digit squares and see what we're working with. test. Perfect. So I've done this first step where I take the numbers and I square them. I have that 81, I have that 1, I have that 1, I have that 81. Now I just need a way to combine them. I have another new method. This is called the dot join string method. So the dot join string method, let me actually just give you an example, and that would be easier for me to explain. Let's say I have a list of numbers again. So again, I'm just going to copy this. We'll call that nums. Okay. And I'm going to just say, let's call this variable x. Boom. So now I can explain this because then it'll make sense. So again, I have my numbers list, which is a bunch of strings. X is equal to the variable of this empty string dot join nums. Again, if I manipulate this, I can put like a symbol in here, combines them with a different thing between them, if that makes sense. What this is telling Python is, hey, take my empty string and take this numbers list, and all these numbers list, all these items in this numbers list, join them together with an empty string between them. So again, if I put an asterisk here, now this is saying, hey, Python, take every number or every string in my nums list and join them together into a big string that has a asterisk between them. Okay? So now we have all these numbers, and then we just need to return them all joined together. And again, if I want to join them together, I want no space between them. So I'm going to put an empty string, join digit squares. Again, this will return a string. So if I run this, see that this string should be equal to this integer. So wrap this in an int function. When I run this, bingo. Now again, I'll attempt it. Bingo. It all works just fine. So again, thoughts on this one? Again, I'm actually going to go ahead and wrap up the lesson here for today. I know usually we go for an hour and 30, but I'm just not feeling it right now. I'm feeling terrible. So I think like this is a good stopping point, as long as you guys are okay with what we've covered. You want me to go over each of the lines, because again, it can be pretty confusing because we're going from an integer to a string, to an integer to a string, and then we're going to a string to an integer. Oops. It's okay. No, but like seriously, are there any questions you guys want to go over? Anything that might not, because again, we're just introducing these functions. I'm using them really quickly. I'm not usually explaining them as much as I usually do, giving you guys examples and whatnot. But yeah. Tomorrow, review. We'll just continue doing the same thing. Because again, this is pretty fun. I'm enjoying this because it's really putting your brain to the test. If you find this challenging, good. Like it's supposed to be challenging. Because at the end of the day, we're beginners. I know we've been coding for like 2.5 months now, but in terms of like experience, like fighting problems, this is our like first real attempt at that. Oh, it's all good. You'll be able to watch this stream. Hopefully I feel better by tomorrow. If I'm not, then oh well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for a great lesson. I hope you guys are really liking this Code Wars setup. It's pretty fun. I liked it a lot starting out, and I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. So if you do get some time to kill between now and tomorrow, or now and next week, depending on how I feel, try it out. There's a bunch of different difficulties, so just push yourself to the limit. Do some research on some new strings, some new methods and all that stuff, new functions. And let me know how you guys are feeling about it. Because if you guys aren't really liking this approach, we can try something different. We can try something new. We can go back to tkinter if you guys are feeling that. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Now that I'm sick, when I say take care, I actually mean it. Take care, eat well, sleep well, wash your hands. And yeah, hopefully I'll be okay for tomorrow. We'll see. I appreciate you guys so much for being so flexible. But yeah, take care, you guys, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow. Peace.